Hi.
He's like, did I hit the record button?
Who knows? All right. Welcome back to our channel.
Oh, this is a thing now.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's a thing now. Today we're going to talk a little bit about our core class types. And Laura's going to share a little bit about the intention behind each one, what you can expect from each class, and those types of things. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. So I think the idea is that we've been getting some new students coming into the studio, and their inquiries are like, oh, I'm a beginner, where should I start?
Yeah.
You know, like, what's the best option for me? So this really is just kind of a highlights video of what all the different class types entail and who they're, I don't want to say geared toward, because everything is for everyone for the most part.
Yeah.
So I don't like boxing people in. So so that's kind of the mindset that we've kind of approached with it. But what you can expect, I guess I should say, for each of the class types. So
let's start with the practice.
I know, I was going to say, what are we going to start with?
Let's start with the practice, because it's the one that people are the most probably like confused about, aren't sure what to expect, those types of things. So I think we start there.
Yeah, love it. Thanks. It's also my favorite.
I know.
I can't have a favorite. I love them all.
It's your favorite.
But it's my favorite. So the practice has really been built out of this need to reconnect the mind and the body. That I would say it's its primary intention. And we do that through finding discomfort, through moving the body, or finding stillness. And so that often gets a lot of kind of like question, like, what does that mean? What it looks like is that we take movements, body weight movements, and we repeat them for a period of time. And that could look like a squat, it could look like a burpee, it could look like a jumping jack. So kind of more, not basic, because all movement that we do is complex, but movements that you would traditionally see in a lot of different situations. And we make it work for whatever it is that we need. And so kind of one of the things that I always get as a question is like, well, what if I can't do this? And my response always is, you know, let's shift the mindset a little bit and show up into that space and see what there is, you know. And that really stems from a somatic approach, because movement is inherent, right? Even if we're still and we're breathing, all the cells, everything in the body is still, there's still blood flow, there's still, you know, the movement of the organs, like all of the processes are still happening within the body. So there, even though it's a little more nuanced, what we have available to us is still there. And so, for instance, if someone's like, oh, like, I see this a lot, the fear in terms of burpee, right? And what we do in practice is we say, okay, so, you know, if this doesn't feel good in your body, or if this doesn't feel safe in your body, that's okay. Here's another option for you. If that doesn't feel safe for you, okay, no problem. Here's another option for you. And I think the importance of a class like the practice is to really take that time and tune into what it is that your body needs in that moment in time. And that could look different and that could feel different from day to day. And so when we say kind of like plyometrics and calisthenics, it is like jumping jack, like burpee. So those types of movements, donkey kicks, like things that you'll see that will increase your cardio strength, and also the muscle strength, and also resiliency, and also, you know, our ability to be in discomfort. And it's fun, and there's music, and that's also kind of like another somatic element to it, is the expression of music. And you sweat and you have fun and you feel really, really good afterward. And the thing that I like to highlight is that sometimes people go into this class and they're like, oh, like, I don't want to do this, like, I'm not ready for this, whatever. And they come out completely opposite to that. So they're like, this is the best class ever. And so I think that's kind of an overarching answer to that. But was there something specific?
I'm going to challenge you.
Okay.
Give me 2 words to describe the practice class.
You know how to challenge me.
2 words.
2 words.
Or maybe 3 if you want.
Okay.
2.
Okay. Okay, 2 or 3 words that describe the practice.
Yeah.
That is challenging me.
Don't think about it too much.
I know. Okay. Like fun.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Accomplished.
Love that. Fun, exciting, accomplished. The practice class. Love that.
That's what we need to use now.
Yeah.
Those words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Does that sound like that's kind of...
Yeah. It's also like very upbeat, very energetic, like those types of things. So if you're looking for something along that line, this class is a great option.
Yeah. And what's really interesting too with all of our classes is that you have your own personal autonomy.
Right.
So they're like, this is your practice, this is for you, this is not for me, this is for you to be in relationship to yourself within the confines, within the kind of structure of a class.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, I'm not doing that today, like that's totally fine. You know, like there's space for that too.
Yeah.
But it's interesting as soon as we start, you know, putting the narrative on something that we're gonna do or not going to do, that's usually where there's more information to be found. And I could talk for hours about a bunch of other things that are related to that, but I'm gonna leave it there and we're gonna move on to the next class.
Okay, now I wanna do the restore.
Okay.
So like the opposite.
The opposite.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's really interesting too within the restore. It's definitely a class that is more restorative, and it doesn't mean that it's any less challenging, but it means that there's less effort. So for me personally, the restore is probably one of the more challenging classes because I find a hard time being still and holding something for an extended period of time. All the shapes that we move into within the restore are supported, and the intention is to really tell your body from a cellular level that it's safe and okay to relax and unwind and release all the tension that's in the body. This is particularly good for people who need a little more time moving in and out of poses. So if you're working with injury, or which of course we can work with injury throughout all the class types, but if you're looking for kind of maybe a little bit more of a gentle way to get back into a movement practice, this is a really good opportunity. We're really addressing, you know, stress and tension through all of our practices, but this one I would say would be kind of the one that is the complete opposite of a heightened stress state.
Yeah.
It's really built to regulate your nervous system, to move into your rest and digest system. I come out of class like ready for bed or like feeling high. Like I'm like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's definitely more gentle. It's definitely, again, for me, a challenge to stay present with it. And that's also another place that we could explore some more conversation around the mindfulness aspect of it. All the poses are supported, so we use props such as like bricks and loops, and if you have a bolster, all done laying down, like all done on the mat.
Yeah,
like
seated or laying down.
Yeah, seated or laying down. Definitely, you know, there's not the emphasis on the cardiovascular aspect of things, but it's definitely like lengthening and unraveling and supporting the body.
Love.
Yeah.
2 words.
Oh gosh. Rest.
Rest.
Support.
Great. That's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay, great.
I would also add gentle.
Gentle.
That's how I feel about the restore.
Yeah.
It just like hugs you.
It hugs you. Yeah. 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 You're like cozy.
Yeah.
I would say cozy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's more than 2 words.
Are we at 4?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, let's do the flow.
The flow.
And I also, once we do the flow and the presence, I also want to talk about the difference between the two, because I think that's something that people don't really know. So let's do the flow.
Okay, the flow. So the flow, again, is a little bit more higher activity wise. Again, the effort that you want to put into it, that's all on you. We do move a little bit quicker. We're linking movement patterns together. We're really, really focused on the breath and the elongation of the inhales and finding expansion through the body. And on the exhales, like moving into deepening into shapes. It is more of a vinyasa based. However, there is mobility involved. There's strength involved. I would say, like, I find a really, really beautiful connection between mind and body in this one, because you don't have time to really like let the narrative go anywhere. Like, you have to stay present or you're gonna miss it.
Yeah.
And again, not to say that we can't work with injury or any other things that you're working with, and everything is your own autonomy, but I would say that one I love because it's a bit more of a moving meditation, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
So this is more of like when most people think of a yoga class,
Yeah.
this would be sort of the style that they're thinking of.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's, yeah, I would say like, I think like power flow comes to mind, flow comes to mind, you know, like vinyasa is the lineage in which kind of it stemmed from, but adding in more elements of what's needed in society in this present moment. So we see a lot of stress and tension in through the shoulders. So a lot of times in my classes we do scapular protraction or retraction, which just helps to kind of unstick that thing that we see chronically in our societies, and which that's technically like not a yoga thing, that's a movement, you know, mobility thing. So it kind of gives us a bit more of an opportunity in this space to add in what we see that is needed in reaction to our society. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
2 words.
Fun. Creative.
Everything's fun.
Everything's fun.
You can't use fun.
Except for the restore. For me.
Restore is fun.
Restore's
Depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
You can't use fun.
Creative.
Okay. And one more.
Exciting.
Okay.
Jazzed.
Sure. Great.
Connected.
Connected is a good word. Yeah, connected is a really good word.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
There's your 3.
Here's 10. Pick 2. Okay, the presence.
The presence, yeah. So if we're looking at kind of the lineage and the origin of where class types are coming from, that's more of a hatha-based practice. And so what's interesting, and I think the nuance is a little bit, you know, interesting, because the shapes that we approach in both classes are very similar, if not the same, and you'll see a lot of crossover. With the presence, you're holding shapes for a longer period of time. And that builds strength. That builds resilience, that builds determination, that builds our ability to explore the mind, because there's this space for the mind to wander.
Yeah.
And so I would say, while both are mindful, this gives you more space to explore that mindfulness in relation to your own self. Yeah. So again, we're like kind of up and down. We're in shapes that are very similar. You'll see, you know, flow in the flow, but you also might see flow in the presence. But the approach is different. So again, the presence is intended to give you the space to actually be present with yourself in those shapes, and because you know, in discomfort stems reaction. And so what are we going to do with that reaction? Are we going to react, or are we going to respond, or are we going to stay with it? Are we going to stay in it? You know, and not to say that we're looking like for anything that's painful, but you know, how we respond to discomfort is very indicative of how we live our lives. And so in the presence, we kind of are able to explore that a little bit more, because there's a bit more time in poses. So you're holding poses for like maybe 3 to 7 breaths, depending on what shape it is. Again, there's still the connection of breath and movement, but it's a little more nuanced. So instead of like big grand movements connected with your breath, it's probably a little more like internal, if that makes sense. So you're really feeling like your inhale, but maybe instead of reaching your arms up on an inhale, you're feeling your rib cage expand on the inhale. Yeah.
Love that.
I feel like that's...
Yeah. So, okay, we'll do 2 words to describe the presence.
Okay. Anchored.
Yeah.
And exploration.
Great.
I'm getting better at this.
You are getting better at this.
You.
Yeah. And then like the key differences between the flow and the presence, I think, is something that we get asked a lot. So I want to adjust that. Yeah.
So I would say the flow is more dancey. It is, I would say it's a little more challenging in the sense of you have less time for instruction of shapes. Doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah.
I would say the presence has more time for instruction of in and out of poses, and you're holding the poses longer. So you're still going to feel like, I would also say maybe the flow is a little bit more cardiovascular, and then the presence is a little bit more like anchored in strength building.
And in the presence, you're holding a lot of the shapes that you're going to see in the flow. So if you're really looking to build like your knowledge of the shapes, how your body feels in those shapes, to then apply that to something like the flow that's moving a little bit quicker. Like the presence would be able to help you with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. We did it.
What was that?
We did it.
That was a good high five.
It was good. Yeah, that's great.
I think that's a really great place to land.
Yeah.
But of course, if you have any questions about like the origins or what we're doing in any of the classes, like we're here to answer those questions. It's not for you to show up and be surprised about anything. We're here to support you on your journey in terms of rebuilding relationship to yourself. And that comes from being present in discomfort, and we do that through a multitude of ways, depending on effort that you want to put into it.
Yeah.
I would say is like, if I could just like highlight something, that would be that.
And you can also show up and just hang out in child's pose for a class. If you want to,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. If you have questions, comment, like, share, subscribe, follow. I don't know.
Do the things.
Do the things.
Do the things.
Yeah.
So we stay relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.